or brown. This clay is straight out of the bag, so I'm just going to use this fishing line. I'm now going to weigh these pieces of clay. They're going to be roughly around 2,000 grams. This particular clay is a fine white clay which is very strong, which is ideal for this purpose. The reason I do this kneading by hand is to eliminate any air that may be trapped in the clay, and also to mix all the dry and wet spots of clay together so that I should get a nice even piece of clay. This kind of kneading we call ox head kneading, and as you can see it creates the ox's horns and the ox's nose. For these large bowls I create a clay pad on the wheel which I then stick wooden bats to. So I'm squeezing and pushing the clay, trying to get it all in the centre of the wheel. Once I'm happy that that piece of clay is central and not wobbling around, I'll move on to the next process, which is opening the clay out. So again, I'm pushing my thumb down the centre of the wheel, then pushing the clay outwards to create a larger hole. I then use my fingers to compress the base of the pot. This makes it much stronger. Next is the first lift. So it's a thumb on the outside, fingers on the inside, and then I'm pushing upwards with my thumb and squeezing it against my fingers on the inside, forcing the clay to become thinner and go upwards. Once I've completed the first lift, I then go on to the second lift. So it's fingers on the inside. I'm going to use a knuckle like that on the outside to push my fingers against, and again squeezing the clay upwards. With a larger pot like this, you need to do a third lift. Again, I'm going to use this rib to smooth the outside of the pot. And then because these bowls are going to have words written into the rims, I'm just going to mark on the clay now 5 concentric rings, which will give me a guide to work to. It's much easier to do this now while the pot's on the wheel centred and spinning than it is to try and put them on later. The clay now has dried out a little to what we call leather hard. This means that the clay still has a little bit of bend in it, but if you bent it too far it would actually break. Just spin the wheel and damp around the edge of there. I'm going to stick the bowl upside down on the wheel. I'm going to use this tool, which is called a ribbon tool, because as it scrapes the surface of the pot it takes ribbons of clay off. I spin the wheel and then I'm just going to trim a little bit off the base. Then I just work on the side of the pot. We had to leave all this extra clay on initially just to support the weight of the flared bowl, slowly taking away all the excess clay. Now I've got that nice and even with all the lumps removed, I'm now going to actually work on shaping the pot. So what I'm doing here is creating quite a deep foot ring. When I'm happy with that shape, I then take the rest of the excess clay out of the foot. I'm just cutting down into the clay, creating a hollow underneath the pot. With this pot I'm going to create quite a deep foot ring. Using this knife, I'm supporting the clay behind and I'm pushing the knife through just so it touches my fingers, and then I know I can cut through the clay safely, hopefully without cutting my fingers to shreds. Now that I've got the names and the date on the bowl, I'm going to just fill in the extra space with a nice pattern. Now the piercework ball's dried out, we're going to put it into the kiln for its first firing. These commemorative balls will be fired overnight, and then hopefully tomorrow afternoon they'll be ready to glaze. And then we just close the lid. These pots have now had a glaze put on them and they've been firing in the kiln, so we're going to open it up and see what results we've got. There we go, a beautiful blue bowl with all the wording around the rim. I make these bowls in lots of different colours. I've named them after the seasons. We have winter white, spring green, summer blue and autumn. And the bowls come in a range of different sizes. This one's just a small one you could use for your cornflakes, up to larger salad bowls.
Oh no, I've got it through actually, the end result. I've got to be illegal. I've got
Half the cheese, could you say?
Got small strawberries in my garden. Frozen.